Last Friday, the Netherlands' new centre-right coalition published their 67-page coalition deal, entitled Let's Get to Work, Building a Better Netherlands. Among its priorities are housing, business, defence, asylum and climate policy, all underpinned by a strong commitment to the EU. Having replaced what was considered to be the Netherlands' most right-wing government in history, led by Geert Wilders' PVV, the new coalition is made up of three centre-right parties, which promise to use an open mind and willingness to compromise to, quote, build a stronger Netherlands. So in this video, we'll take a look at the Netherlands' new coalition and some of their main policies. If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. Now, let's start by explaining the new Dutch coalition. The last Dutch election, held in October, resulted in a shock victory for the centrist, socially liberal D66 party, led by 38-year-old Rob Jetten. The D66 won 26 seats. The far-right Freedom Party, or PVV, came second, also with 26 seats. The centre-right Conservative People's Party, or VVD, came third with 22 seats. The Green Left Labour Alliance were in fourth with 20 seats. And the centre-right Christian Democratic Appeal, or CDA, came in fifth with 18 seats. The main takeaway from this was the surge of moderate parties. The D66, a centrist party popular with civil servants and university graduates, had run an optimistic and practical campaign and recorded its best result since its establishment in 1966. The centre-right CDA also surged to 18 seats, up from just 5 previously, largely thanks to the popularity of its leader, Henry Bontenbouw. Meanwhile, the PVV, formerly the largest party, lost 11 seats, while another far-right party, JA21, surged from just 1 to 9. As such, despite some suggestions that the PVV's defeat meant that the far-right was in retreat, in reality those results reflected a fragmentation rather than a decline of the far-right vote. Anyway, after the VVD refused to enter into a coalition with the Green Left Labour Alliance, which it saw as too radical, over the next 3 months the D66 held coalition talks with the centre-right CDA and VVD parties, with the three parties agreeing to form a minority government, a rare occurrence in Dutch politics. Last Friday, they published their coalition deal, entitled Underslag, or Let's Get to Work, outlining their plans to fix the housing crisis, increase Dutch competitiveness, improve defence and security, limit asylum, and introduce greener climate policies. So let's get straight into this new coalition deal. First up is the coalition's self-described top priority: housing. This attracted a lot of attention during the election campaign, with the D66 pledging to build several new cities. The coalition plans to reduce objections to building, allowing only for a single appeals process and enforcing fixed deadlines for decisions. They'll also implement an annual simplification act to standardize regulations between different municipalities. They aim to build at least 30 large-scale new construction sites, which could be neighbourhoods or cities, with all new housing deals to feature 2/3 affordable housing, as well as rewarding municipalities which exceed their housing construction targets. Next up is supporting businesses. Stating that economic growth is one of our most important missions, the parties want to stimulate entrepreneurship and innovation, arguing that the Netherlands will become the strongest economy in Europe with the best investment climate. To try and achieve this, the coalition will establish a national investment institution to strengthen the Dutch capital market and provide financing to projects and companies that cannot independently raise funds on the private financing market. They will also deepen cooperation with the EU through supporting a capital markets union and harmonizing regulations with, quote, like-minded countries. They also pledge not to raise corporation tax, aim to eliminate or simplify at least 500 regulations each year, and, quote, make agreements with regulators to avoid interpreting EU regulations more strictly than necessary. Another top issue is strengthening defence. The coalition states, we will choose a strong Netherlands in a strong Europe, working with all its allies on security, legal certainty, and prosperity. They want to build a European pillar within NATO, while also establishing new strategic partnerships outside of Europe and the US. They plan to increase defense spending to the NATO target of 3.5% of GDP by 2035, massively scale up the size of the Dutch army from just 26,000 now to at least 122,000, initially through a mandatory survey for young people, and then, if that doesn't work, by considering reinstating a selective draft, and deepening defense cooperation with Europe, including through the joint acquisition of military assets and strengthening of a European nuclear deterrent. On security, they want a European equivalent of the Five Eyes, a new intelligence and security act that expands national intelligence research capacity and strengthens defensive and offensive cyber capabilities. They also want to bolster civil defense readiness by setting up neighborhood crisis teams that can be deployed in the event of a crisis. Next, the coalition wants a strict asylum system. Reducing migration was one of the previous government's top priorities, and the incoming coalition are similarly concerned with, quote, restoring order and tackling exploitation in the asylum system. They'll continue the previous government's asylum restrictions, including a two-tier system and limited family reunification, but will scrap the requirement for migrants to have 10 years residency before applying for Dutch nationality, reducing it to 6. They'll also support the EU's push for third country processing, stating the ultimate goal is for asylum applications to be able to be submitted and processed outside Europe, and for asylum procedures to no longer have to be followed in the Netherlands. However, while the coalition supports the expansion of deportation and returns agreements with third countries, they will also guarantee that migrants are never sent back to a country where they run the risk of persecution. They will also shift the focus to integration, providing language lessons and job placements for promising asylum seekers, and give those with a good chance of obtaining residence permit the right to work after 3 months in the asylum system. Finally, the new coalition also wants a greener climate policy. In contrast to the climate skepticism of the former PVV-led government, the new coalition wants to achieve breakthroughs in nitrogen policy by reducing nitrogen pollution as well as CO2 emissions and water use, with farms at risk of losing permits if they fail to meet agricultural sector targets. The coalition also pledges to financially support farms in nature reserves that relocate or close, and will introduce targeted support to help farmers transition to greener and more sustainable practices. They'll also invest in offshore wind, carbon capture in the North Sea, and green hydrogen and nuclear power production. Ultimately, while the incoming coalition is clearly trying to present a united front, claiming that they will, quote, listen and argue, give and take, they still need support from the other parties in parliament. Between them, the three coalition parties have 66 out of 150 seats, 10 short of a majority. Given that the coalition deal is slightly more right-leaning than some experts were expecting, this support might have to come from the far-right PVV and JA21 parties, especially on defense spending and asylum, as the Green Left Labour Alliance opposes the coalition's proposed cuts to healthcare and unemployment benefits. Now, this is a big story, and amongst every other big story happening right now, you might be feeling powerless in the current climate. The problems feel massive, and individual actions can feel meaningless. But what if we told you that you can be part of something bigger? Something that actually turns concern into action? Well, that's where our friends at Planet Wild come in. Planet Wild is not just your usual environmental organisation. It's a passionate community built around a clear focus, protecting and conserving the world we all live in. We're more aware than ever that the world is a scary place, and the state of our planet needs to change. So every single month, the Planet Wild community funds a mission to protect endangered animals, restore our forests, and clean our oceans. They document all of these missions in videos here on YouTube, so we can see exactly what we've helped to achieve. The impact we've all made will be right before our eyes. From cleaning up Mumbai's plastic river to protecting Europe's last ancient forest, and even saving elephants with the help of bees. Planet Wild will stop at nothing to make the world a better place for every living being on it. So where do you and I come in? Well, by becoming a member, we're directly funding a brand new nature mission from the comfort of our own home. We support, they execute. If you want to join the growing community making a real difference, Planet Wild is the place to be. Big or small, your difference matters, and you can contribute as little as $6 a month to help protect nature. We're big fans of Planet Wild, so much so that the first 100 people to use code NEWSEU2 will get their first month paid for by us. Just scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. By joining today, you'll immediately be making a difference and even be able to see your impact in less than 30 days on YouTube right here. You can cancel your membership at any time, so there's absolutely no catch. Just an easy and remarkable way to create real and lasting change. And if you want to see them in action, check out their mission cleaning up Mumbai's river plastic.